Hello, guys. Stand by for a quick intro.
Welcome back to another episode of the Strongman Winner Circle podcast. I'm your host, Nicholas Canby, and this is episode 85 with the American Nick Hein. Everybody, Nick Hein. In the last few years, Nick has been on an impressive run, taking a couple podiums at World's Strongest Man 105 Kilo, podium at America's Strongest Man, as well as taking home an international win at the PSL meet. So let's catch up with Nick in terms of what's on the docket for this year and his expectations for 2025. Let's figure out what he does best, and as well as talk about the 105 kilo scene on today's episode of the Strongman Winner Circle podcast with Nick Hein of the USA. Today's episode is sponsored by TsunamiBarSports.com, and Canby shirts are available at oddobjects.co, description below. And if you're interested in all the content and want some more Canby Dude, consider being a member and getting access to exclusive videos. And without further ado, here is Nick Hein of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Nick, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor to finally make it on.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're overdue, but I'm glad it's happening, especially at the beginning of the year. Quick question. Are you a Pittsburgh fan or are you a Philly fan?
Well, you know what? I think a couple times now you said that I was from Pittsburgh, and I'm not actually from Pittsburgh. I'm more like Central PA, but it really doesn't matter. But
how far are you? How far are you from Pittsburgh?
Probably about 5 hours.
Okay, I'm way off.
Yeah, it's okay.
Why did I think that?
I don't know. I don't think I've ever given that off. Maybe maybe Josh with 580. He's got a pretty big following in the area. Yeah, he's out of Pittsburgh. Yeah.
All right. So are you an Eagles fan then?
I mean, I was a Pittsburgh fan, and actually, when my daughter was born in 2013, I played football in high school. I actually stopped watching football in 2013. I just, I lost interest. Yeah. There's too many, there's too many things to follow, too many names. And I'm like, I got new responsibilities now. So sorry, I can't indulge you in a football conversation.
No worries. But of course the players are coming on, but in terms of the beginning of the year, but looking back at late last year, but was more importantly, I asked Josh this question, but was Santa good to you?
Was Santa good to me? Yeah, because he was good to my girls. My girls had an awesome Christmas, and finished it off with some sledding on this hill with no snow on it, but they still had a blast. So yeah, it was a good Christmas.
Excellent. So we were talking a little bit off the show, but right now you're in kind of a full rehab mode. So how's your shoulders and knees feeling?
Yeah, I am in rehab, and I probably should back it off a little bit more. I think lately I've been testing a little bit. So right before OSG, I would say 3 weeks out, I actually injured the back. I won't say injured. I irritated the back of my knee. I thought I maybe pulled a muscle. I didn't really know what it was. I just started researching on Google, like most of us do. But I had some help from a friend, and we got the inflammation down. So that was actually pretty minor. But my shoulder, I would say 2 months out from OSG, started giving me issues. And honestly, every time I go back to benching, I don't even know why I try to bench anymore, because every time I progress, from some floor presses or pin presses flat down to like a close grip, full range of motion bench press, I always end up, pissing my shoulder off. So it happens almost every time. I think this is the last time, and I've learned my lesson just to avoid it. Maybe just stick with some different other variations, but that's how it originally started. I hit 405 for 6 reps on a close grip bench, and then it was irritated for 2 days, and then it got to the point where it really only bothered me when I was sleeping or reaching for something, but I could press perfectly fine. So I'm not really sure what it is. I had a lot of help on social media. I just put a story up on my Instagram, and I had a lot of guys reach out. Prehab doctor, a lot of guys. I could name probably 20 or 30. Anthony Furman, he helped me a lot. And
was it your bicep?
I still don't know.
All right.
Because that was still irritated. I thought it was like my supraspinatus or, one of the rotators on the back of the shoulder, but I was feeling it on the front and the back. And I tried messing with different, positions and sleeping, and it's still kind of bothering me. So I need to get it figured out. But it's one of those things where, like local doctors, they just want to put a Band-Aid on you, and I want the answer,
Mm-hmm.
So
absolutely. But yeah, it's just that's kind of one of the patterns. But it didn't seem like it affected you too much on the log, especially of course tying with Alec, another of course log press monster. So 5 with 330, especially at 105 kilos, is quite the astonishing number.
Yeah, I was happy with that. I was honestly expecting more. I think I had a little bit of pre-competition jitters. I couldn't get my legs stable underneath me. Like even in my first 2 reps, I think I got up like the 3rd or 4th rep, but I just couldn't get my feet and my legs to kind of engage the way I needed them to. But still got good points, and I knew it was points I needed considering other events coming up, and in my opinion, that was the most competitive 105 class. I mean, in totality of that I've seen. There's like my first year with you. I mean, you were the guy, and Justin was, and Chad Curran, like you were the guys, like it was, you guys kind of like rose above the rest of us, where I think this was so much more compact. You didn't really know what was going to happen,
Absolutely. And you have like a wild card, like Othero coming in, like winning the deadlift, winning the grip event. So, he absolutely, like, especially it was very mixed in. But yeah, but I'm glad of course, what hurt 2021 was just that was the first one coming out of COVID, right? So we could get the best number, but at least people that wanted to be there or was absolutely going to be there showed up. But that was the first show that we met. It was hard not to notice you because you always had the loudest cheering section out of anybody, so it was really hard not to take notice.
Always. Yeah, we travel in packs, but I'm really blessed to have the people that I do in my life. But yeah, I had no form of knowledge of what the 105 class really even was in 2021. I was just like, I got to make this weight. I'm kind of familiar with, I did one sort of weight cut before. Actually, it was before my very first Strongman show in 2017. And then, I did this, totally bombed the water cut. But it was a totally new thing for me, being around that caliber of athletes and at that weight, at that body weight, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. But of course, you're mentioning about your base. So shout out to Charlie Doder. What's up, Charlie? Good to see you.
What's up, Charlie?
Charlie attended a seminar, so we had a great time, and of course, we got to see him at the regional this past in Northeast. But yeah, I would say continue on your. So of course, that the first time we met was there. I remember that was your first 105 show. But yeah, tell us. You're getting into it, but yeah, tell us about your early beginnings. Like, did you have any like big inspirations? Like, how did you get into Strongman originally?
I actually told this story before in a podcast, and I think I just mistold it. I actually watched Strongman when I was 12 years old. My mom bought me a weight set. That was when I first started lifting. So I had like those old sand weights,
Mm-hmm.
and I would hit sets on commercial, and I'd run over and, thinking I was, working towards whatever they were doing. But at that time, only knowing that they were giants. So really that was my first introduction into Strongman. But I think like most people's story, you don't really think, unless you have the frame for it, you don't really think it's part of something that you could do. So then I was supposed to do a powerlifting meet. I swam in college, rewind, played football and swam in high school. But ended up just always loving the gym more than any other sports that I did. When CrossFit came out, I don't even really remember if it was called CrossFit then, but around like 2010, 2011, I got really big into that, and then kind of took a little bit of a break from the gym, and then the Mark Bell came on, YouTube, and I jumped on that train. Wanted to do a powerlifting meet. It was canceled, and I ended up going to a Strongman seminar on the same day. So that was my introduction into it.
What was that?
What's that?
Whose seminar was that?
So it was just a local guy. He was a CEO of our local YMCA. His name's Joe Reiner. Just a local guy, but just a gym was opening up, and he just wanted to, share some knowledge. And I just fell right in love with it. He brought a log, he brought a circus dumbbell, maybe an axle. I can't remember what else he brought, but I just thought the dumbbell looked so absurd. I thought it was like the craziest thing I ever saw. I was like, this is a dumbbell, and it turns out ends up being one of my favorite events. But yeah, that was, not the most exciting introduction, but I fell in love just immediately. So that was at a CrossFit gym. I probably started coaching. I mean, I definitely started coaching too soon, but we're all just kind of learning together. I just was like, hey, let's do this. I saw some videos of guys doing this on YouTube, and we're going to try to do it this way. And then with the knowledge that was shared with me from the guy who had that seminar. But then I kind of was like a USS guy. I didn't really get into Strongman Corp. I did one show, Strongman Corp. I guess I did open, but a friend of mine, Dave Johns, a very, very good family member of mine. I thought
he was your dad.
Yeah, I know. Most people do. We just go with it now. Even when we go in restaurants, people just assume it.
Well, I tell everybody that Johnny Waz is my dad.
Yeah. Okay. So we got the same sort of thing going on. Except I'm not balding quite yet. So, yeah, right. So he told me about the online qualifier, which is how I qualified for the 2021 OSG. And, I didn't even know what it was. I just was like, there's this, I saw the numbers and I saw what the guys were doing. And I was like, I just became so obsessed with trying to keep up, trying to stay in those, the top 10 spots. Right. And so I had competed on a Saturday at Pennsylvania's Strongest Man for the USS. And then the next day he made me do all three of the events. Do you remember the stand, which I just redid it again this year, the sandbag back and forth, 20 feet, a log 3-rep max clean once. And then I think it was a 5-rep max deadlift. So I did it that day. And then I retested the log 2 days later. I retested the sandbag 2 more times. And then, which I found out I had 0 cardio. And I didn't retest the deadlift. I was getting ready to on Friday night. And then I didn't realize that there was the time difference there was no countdown at the time. Nice. And I was about to go over to the gym. It was 9:00 at night. I'm like, I can't, I gotta be top 10. I was like, maybe I just need to secure this spot and just jump another 20 pounds up. And she's like, fine, go ahead. And then I started to get ready and she's like, it just closed. So, but you got in. So I made top 10 for the online qualifier. And that was my long-winded introduction. Sorry about that.
No, absolutely. I love it. Now, when did you and Sheila open your gym?
My gym is right there. Yeah. So after I started coaching at the CrossFit gym, they shut down. And then I brought all the equipment to my house, and we just started doing a Strongman Sunday. So I just did it because I wanted people to train with, And then slowly, as I continued to learn more, I just kind of fell into more of a coaching role. So 2019, 2020, 2021, it was before that even. So 2018, we did it for a year at my place. And then we came into where I'm at now. It's just it's a small building in the front of my house. You actually used to be a sub shop. I used to buy wings here, but we just, turned it into our little spot. So.
Okay. All right. So of course you've been doing the coaching and running the gym for a bit. All right. It's pretty neat. So I would say, of course, I have some more coaching questions, but I would say that's a little later on the show.
Sure.
But first we got to take our first commercial break, but maybe something to consider, a piece of equipment to consider for your gym or for anybody's training. But 40 seconds.
Are you ready to shake up your training? Are you ready for your next challenge? Tsunami Bar Sports is here to boost your power, stability, and coordination. Whether you're superloading and using it to target barbell-centric movements or using it for ballistic weighted plyometrics for more sport-specific purposes, the Tsunami Bar has you covered. Our patented and flexible barbell technology is designed to help you improve in all things human performance. Discover the difference at Tsunami Bar Sports today. Visit tsunamisports.com to learn more. Use CANBY10 for 10% off of any Tsunami Bar product, or pause the screen and use the QR code. Now back to the show.
Have you got floppy yet?
No, I don't even think I've used one somewhere else, to be honest with you. But I 2022, there was a rumor that at the Clash on the Coast that we were all getting
free
the
ones,
top, that the top 10 was getting a Tsunami Bar with our names on it. And then it turned out to be, it was like 15% off. So
yeah, I think of course
bummer.
the promoter at the time kind of miscommunicated that, but that's
okay.
all right. And then
that was pretty crazy to hear. Like, are you sure?
Yeah, because they're of course they're decently priced, but they're also not cheap. But it's a pretty good tool. But I think like right now, you're a pretty confident presser. I would say you're usually going winning most of the press events. Can everybody get it? Can always improve? Absolutely. But I would say like right now, like it could probably be a better tool for your clients, like someone that's trying to build competency and build efficiency and kind of just be almost a little more aggressive with the weights. It might be a pretty good tool. That's what I kind of been pushing even with my own few coaching clients that I got going on right now. But we do have I made a fun little spiel. So talking about the 105 kilo scene, because it is pretty interesting. I think sometimes people need to talk about it. I think people need to be educated, right?
Yeah.
So of course you had a great year yourself. So of course winning the PSL and taking second at OSG. But you also had two undefeated Americans this year. So you had Alec, of course, winning the Arnold, the Shaw, and OSG. You had Zach McCarley also going undefeated, winning ASM and Ultimate. So right now, you guys seem like the trio that's going to be the guys to beat, especially in the American scene. And then you go overseas, you have our buddy, you have Mr. McKeegan, you got the wise guy over there. You have Yuri Kattlecheck, who's still he's still lingering, but I think he won an international show this year. I think it might have been SCL.
Yeah, he just did a boxing match too.
Yeah, he did. He won it. Yeah, that was fun to see. So coming soon, you have
Chaos.
I want to say Chaos. Yeah, I was gonna say Cumbrain, but it's
it's Cumbrian. It's Chaos Cumbrian, because I guess that's where it's at.
Yeah. So
I wanted to do that show, but there's a good lineup for sure.
Yeah. So Plemislav Marcheski, Marius Carvelis, and then you have the return of Emmanuel Presquire. All those guys have won world titles out, like I think either SCL or Ultimate. So
yeah,
all quality guys. And then of course my buddy James Deffenbog is competing in there, but other Americans that are still kind of fighting for the top spot. You coach Mr. Bradley, correct?
I do, yes.
And then you have guys like Alimo and McQuiston all in there. So it's gonna be a pretty exciting year.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about the scene?
Yeah, I actually just had a conversation with another guy about this, and it's fine to just want to focus on who's in America, but I don't have near as much experience as you do. I competed in Germany in Fulda as Ultimate 2 years ago, and that's really where I was already following a lot of the guys, but that's where I got to meet them, and you really see like there's so much of a different appreciation over there for strength and strongman as well. But there's guys who I would love to see. Primislav, is that how you say his name? Primislav?
Primislav, yeah.
Yeah, he's my dude. Polish guy.
Mm-hmm.
Emmanuel, I'm glad to see him back. I only went against Yuri the year I got third, 2022 at OSG, and he was banged up, so I don't think I saw him near his best. But I've had conversations with McKeegan about it, and he's like, he's a stellar athlete. That he just wasn't, in form for that show. So, I'd love to see these guys and, the top guys in America pull together for a show. And I think we've had plenty of opportunities to try and do that. But, with travel and everything, it is the biggest blockade to bring us all together, you know. But is it Primoslav or no, Patrick Zaleska?
Yeah, oh, the log record holder.
Record holder. He's a savage. I mean, you give that guy anything. I mean, he holds the world record right now for 105 and 110 for the log.
425.
Yeah, for 105.
Yes, yeah, for 425 pounds.
Yeah, I think he did 435 at 110 kilo body weight. Oh, wow. So I mean, like, look at there's guys that a lot of, and like I said, maybe some of these guys don't care, but that's why I try to compare myself to the best. You said I've been a good presser at shows, but I still look to what you've done, which in my eyes I still have a lot of work to do. Hitting 420-pound log and axle. So it's we've had some ebbs and flows. Guys like Jesse Nelson. I know he's not a 105er anymore, but there's been some big pressers coming and going over the years. But right now, I think if we could get everybody together, I think it'd be one hell of a show.
Absolutely. And of course, speaking of Jesse Nelson, hopefully, knock on wood, hopefully comes back. I saw him doing some training recently. But anybody else that I missed off that list that we were, of course, people to look out for next year? There's always people come in the weeds. Of course, if Othero brings up some of his weak events, he could be pretty dangerous, right? I think of course, with Bradley, of course, you coaching him, I was really impressed when he started hitting some of the Trump log, because that used to keep him, they used to hold him back was his press.
We put a lot of work into that, and I was so proud of him when he hit 2 reps on something that was supposed to be a weakness for him, and he stepped up and got huge points for it. He told me after that event that he was happy with what he did. I thought he did 2 reps on the lower Trump log, and then I watched the video and I was like blown away. But it was just like his training videos. They're all grinders. He's a slow and steady kind of guy. So yeah, he's another guy, not option, but he's another guy who come and surprise some more people. He stepped it up with his moving events too. But Alec right now, he's got quite the package going on. He came ready for war at OSG. It was a pleasure competing with him. So
absolutely. But the question is when the 105s gonna lose him to be a heavyweight, because he's a little taller than me. I think he has the frame to be a heavyweight. The question is when does he want to be a heavyweight? He's still young enough.
Yeah. I want another shot at him first before he does that.
All right. And then there's also Alimo. I think Alimo's.
Alimo, yeah.
I talked to him. I think he's trying to do a lot of 105 shows this year, but he's another one that's an inch or two. I say usually if you're getting into 6'1", 6'2", I think you can do. You can probably be heavyweight. Like I'm 5'11", 3/4, and I've hit 305, 310. So with them being 6'1", 6'2", they probably could potentially put on some more weight. Do you have any aspirations to ever go heavyweight again?
No. I hit 275, and I was in my daughter's swimming practice, and I got out of breath going down like a half a flight of stairs. Now, of course, it was a much less healthy 275 than I think I could be, but at least right now, no. But I think I just have so many things I still want to do. I really want to hit a 400 log. I think I got really close to being ready for it, and then something happened to my knee. Probably still some, lingering effects from OSG. But I was planning to do it actually 2 weeks after OSG, and I had no stability on my right leg. But that's the goal for next year. So I definitely want to do that. I'd love to hit an 850 deadlift, and then I really wanted to win OSG. So I'm gonna have to come back.
Well, was it fairly close? Was it off? Was it a few points?
Yeah, Alec and I were tied going into the last event. I'm not here to make any excuses or anything. My stone training was phenomenal leading into the show, and I know the wrecking ball wrecked a lot of people. It definitely wrecked me. And like I said, I'm not here to make excuses, but I was dealing with my erector was just acting up. Backstage, Adam Dirks was really helping me out. Shout out to Adam Dirks. He was looking for every possible way he could get me as close as I could be to optimal performance, and we did what we could. We're all beat up at that point. It's the last event on the third day. OSU is a very exhausting show. It's like that's why I try to stay out of the crowds. When you're back in the athlete area, try to stay like either like way off or just tucked away, because it's just so many conversations and like, hey, I haven't seen you in a while. Hey. It's like it just sucks your energy. So you want to kind of conserve as much as possible. But I definitely did not have the performance I wanted on the stones, and got to the fifth stone. I should have used a lighter tacky, like the spider light tacky, and my left hand slipped, and then I didn't have any juice left for another load, so it's okay. But yeah, we were tied for points going into the last event.
But you're pretty much going up against like the equivalent of like a Tom Stolman at stones, right?
Yeah,
God's very good at stones, so yeah, it's tough. Of course, on the seventh event. But back to your point when you were talking about just OSG being draining, I think that's what most people don't really expect, is that of course you get physically drained after a contest, but just emotionally and mentally draining is how that show is. Especially they had like, I liked how they staggered the events day 1 and day 2, but day 3 is like any other day where you're there all day just waiting things out. So that must have been the most grueling and the longest day of the whole trio.
Yeah, and if I could give a piece of advice to anybody going to OSG, I made a huge mistake this year. So I pretty much nailed diet all the way in. Made weight no problem. Refeed went really well, but I didn't keep up with my meals throughout the 3 days. I was totally underfed, and my wife said to me, she said, I didn't want to. We were on our way back to the hotel on the third night after it was over, and she's like, I didn't want to tell you this, but your eyes looked sunken in the entire weekend. Like that's like when you cut and you get that sunken face sort of look to you.
Oh yeah.
She's like, you always lose that, and you didn't lose it this time. She's like, I thought it was gone, and then I was like, yeah, I definitely didn't stick to my meal. So eat your food. Don't be distracted by what's going on. Have a plan. Have an itinerary, and stick to it, and make sure you guys are fed. So.
Yeah, that's important. I've seen like extra kind of IV bags even throughout the weekend. And I think I've done it even at the heavyweight level, just because you're not drinking as much. You're not be able to have you're doing a lot of things, but
there's distractions.
A lot of distraction, but overall sounded like a good show. But like now, think with OSG in mind, I imagine you probably want to go back to OSG next year. But like, what else is on the docket? Or actually, before we get into contests, what does so you're prehabbing, and then you're probably getting into like an off season, mid season. But what's your off season look like? Like what areas are you working on, or where are some of your off season goals before you start competing into this year?
Yeah, so definitely continuing to work on grip work. I 10 plus years in the oil field and welding, and it just ruined my hands. Bad tendonitis and arthritis, but it's actually almost completely gone away the last few months. So definitely trying to, not overdo grip work, because then I'll start waking up and my hands feel like they got beaten by hammers all night. So if I start getting a little bit of the pain while waking up, I know I'm taking it a little bit too far. Definitely just giving my body some time to recover, and get a lot of beltless work in. Build the core up a little bit more. I had some herniated discs from a couple of years ago, bulging discs. So I think that earlier in my strongman career, I over relied on the belt. I didn't do enough beltless work, and so I didn't give my brace a chance to really strengthen to the level it should have, because your body just kind of adapts, especially if you over tighten your belt. That's like the worst thing you can do for your brace. I definitely overused the belt. So trying to get a lot more beltless work in. And the biggest thing is trying to, now that I know what's going on, I don't know what's going on with my shoulder, but I'm going to continue to search for that answer. Implementing more prehab work, trying not to, get, frustrated as the time ticks on, knowing that it'll be there when I need to, because the next show for the next question will be PSL. Just trying to take care of it now. So when I get into that prep, because there's like 3 press events in that show, I got to be healthy. So I got to take care of the things that are hurting first, and the things that are bothering me, and then we'll start building up and continue to work a little bit more the other weaknesses.
All right, excellent. So that's pretty good off-season plan. And then, so kind of what you mentioned, of course, you probably want to return and, of course, kind of defend your title in May. And then what other contests do you have on the docket or you're considering?
So depending on when ASM is going to be for 105s, I'd like to go back and take a shot at that again. And I really want to do Shaw. So last year, Shaw and ASM were pretty close. I think there was 1 or 2 guys that actually did both. But I can't.
Someone else.
Yeah, I can't remember the line. Yeah, I can't remember the other one, but maybe there wasn't. But anyways, at a PSL, I was dealing with some bicep tendonitis, and it was to the point. Okay, going into that show, I mean, talk about shoulder injury after shoulder, not shoulder, just shoulder issue after shoulder issue. So I had a shoulder issue going into PSL, shoulder issue, different one going into OSG. Maybe I need to calm it down a little bit, but I had really bad bicep tendonitis, and I only did 2 heavy pressing sessions going into PSL. But then when I came out of it, I just went full bore prehab, rehab, and try to get back. I forget your question. What was your question?
So just look at the year. So it would be great to see you at ASM. It would be interesting. Of course, like last year, it was hosted by in Austin. Of course, I'm blanking on the gym, but pretty much it was Mishkif, the Twitch streamer. It was pretty much he was part owner of a gym.
That was a wild live stream.
It was very wild. It was long, but it was very wild. But we had 300,000 viewers, so that was the most televised or most viewed 105 show. And then he also put up the prize money, so it would be cool.
Wow.
It would be cool if he maybe brings that back. But I would love to see you and McCarley go at it. I think you guys competed once, maybe last 2 years ago against each other.
Yeah, actually, I was going to say that when we were talking about 105s. I would love to see McCarley compete more. Number one, he's just an awesome guy, super nice guy. But he's just so willing to just kind of share his knowledge and help you out. I mean, I competed with him 2 years ago at ASM, and he was just backstage. Yes. I was like freaking out over the farmer's carry, and he's like, yeah, man, like you're gonna be fine. Just focus on this. And that was 2 years ago. But I'd love to see him do more shows.
That's when Jeff won. He took second. He took third, right?
Yep.
Yeah. All right. I remember that because I was right there.
You were right there.
Yeah, that was a good show. But like right now, he's pushing on potential history with going after a 5th America title, which would be the most of all time, especially with the 21 or 22 year history of the show. So it would be pretty interesting.
So he has 4.
He has 4. He's tied with Sean DeMarinis before. So Jeff Lee stopped him from being all time. So
oh man.
Yeah, it'll be pretty interesting if he's able to defend his title. And it was a crazy contest because it was 5 events, but after each event there was a new total leader the whole time. So we weren't really sure who was going to end up winning.
This year.
Yeah, because he starts slow on the static events because I think he was like a 5th and a 10th on the press and deadlift, but then he was lights out in the last 3. And
won the farmers.
Mm-hmm. Just arm over arm, and they did really good on the sandbag throw. So he ended up taking it. So it was fun to see him but that was just kind of digging in, and he didn't really. That was like 1 month or like 3 weeks after him competing at Ultimate after when he won that show, and he also did the team show. So it was not like he came in with like a 12-week prep or anything. So kudos to him. But
Yeah.
I always of course, always admire. Of course, he's right up. He's probably one of the guys like that you could potentially consider one of the best 105s all time, especially in the American scene. So if you ever have the opportunity to go up against that'd be really cool. Unfortunately, I never got my rematch against Clayton. I haven't competed with him since 2017, so it was going to be in 2022, but he ended up not doing ASM, and then I am getting hurt at OSG. So,
maybe you guys will see each other at a heavyweight level now.
I think that's I've been waiting. So he's probably tuning in. So Clayton, one of these days we'll get together and hold hands and do some events. And then let's see. I think it'll be a pretty interesting scene. Now with like a contest like the Shaw or even going back overseas, is that on your mind at all, or we're just one contest at a time right now?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I really wanted to do Chaos, and part of me wishes I would have not done OSG and did Chaos just because I like the events and I love to support Davies, but especially with it being the first Chaos show. There's a natural stone series. I love natural stones. I was like, when I didn't have Atlas stones when I started, we just got big decorative stones. So yeah, I forgot your question again. This cold is messing with my brain today.
No, it's all right. We're both kind of suffering. I don't know if you heard my intro, but it was pretty nasally.
Yeah, I apologize.
But no, you're fine. Yes. So other contests out there. So I think we were talking off the break. You said that the Arnold Pro-Am looked pretty cool, but unfortunately it's too soon.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna try to do it next year.
I think Aiden Howell's going after the Max Hog again. So I hope he breaks my American record. I think that would be pretty exciting, and then he can start making a name for himself, and then you guys can go head to head on it.
Yeah, I think if he could have just kept his cool a little bit, I think he might have gotten a little bit closer at ASM. But yeah. I would say he says he's going to take your record. So PSL has a max axle.
Oh yeah, I forgot that. So he can take both the records. Well, technically, it's weird because there's the Russian. His name is Ilya.
I'm not familiar.
Doesn't really compete. But he, under one of their federations out there, he went for the axle record, but he didn't do on the Apollon wheels. And like lately, that's kind of been the standard, especially for the heavyweights.
When you did it, was it on the Apollon?
Yeah, we did. It was at Clash, and then McCarley attempted it on the Apollon wheels, and it wasn't successful. So we try to keep the Apollon wheels as try the same, just because it's similar to heavyweights. It's pretty recognizable. But he did it. They did on a plain axle, which is fine. So technically, I think he has the world record. So mine turns into American record, right? So
yeah.
So it would be interesting. So it would be great to not only if Mr. Mullet, Aiden Howell, can not only break the American record but break the world record and bring it back to America. So
yeah, that'd be cool.
That's what I'm hoping for. But what about the Shaw? Any interest?
Yeah. Sorry, I got a little scatterbrain there, but yeah, like I said, I wanted to do it. I had the bicep tendonitis, so I couldn't do the Shaw or ASM last year. But from what I heard from Alec, it was a fantastic show. Well run. They won prize money, good prize money, more than OSG this year. So I was surprised for their first one. They paid out the 105s. But I would love to get over. Plus, I've never been to Colorado, so I think that'd be fun.
Absolutely, yeah. It looks like a great show. Yeah, it looks pretty. I think you would have no problem making the finals, but if you were like a guy that's like a fringe final guy and to go there, like to do 3 events, I think that would be pretty tough. But
yeah, but is that how it is? 3 and 3?
No, I think they did 3, 2, and 2. I want to say so. 7 events total, but the three events were the qualifying events, and then top 10 make it to day 2 and day 3. So
was it a 3-day show for them?
3-day show. I'm pretty certain. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember. Okay.
But yeah, it was. But yeah. So I think you would have no problem. But I would say for other guys, it's like you're gonna go there. You're gonna go up to some pretty stiff competition because I think this Shaw just brings a lot of lore around him. So I think there's some guys that would really want to do well. But it was pretty.
So you have to be really good at those first 3 events.
Yes.
Basically. Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely. Oh, look who chimed in. Hello, Mr. Olimo. What's up? So yes, it was a 3-day show, 3, 2, and 2. Thank you for the info.
Thanks, Johnny.
Johnny, I'll see him in a month. I'm gonna announce it later, but my next my next seminar is gonna be in New Jersey, so he better come.
Where at?
Johnny's place. I don't know.
Oh, no way.
If that's not too far for you.
That's not too far from me. Hour and a half, 2 hours.
Oh, there we go. I'll send you the details, but I'm making an announcement.
Please do.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Top 10 after you. All right. Thanks for chiming in, Alimo. So moving on. So it looks like we'll see plenty of Mr. Hein, I think, after. So starting with PSL and then the rest of the contest. So pretty exciting. But I wanted to talk a little bit about kind of your coaching. So of course you've been coaching since several years. You opened the gym for 5, now going on to your 6th year. But you've been with all your contests. For guys that don't know Mr. Hein, throughout his 105 career, he's never placed lower than 6th. So usually that's at top level shows. So you're very consistent. So when you're trying to pass that on to your clients, like what do you tell them, or what do you preach to your clients about to stay consistent and to perform well, or to perform to their abilities?
Yeah, depending on the athlete, I think every conversation is different, but it's all in the details. I was actually hoping you'd bring up the fact that I have been consistent. I think I've been one of the more consistent guys, even though I haven't won it, I haven't won it yet. But if I was talking to a guy who's an up and comer, I would say take your time. Depending on, there's too many factors. It depends on their age, but stay patient, stay disciplined, and work on all the fine details.
All right. Excellent. I always say patience is key. And we've heard that, term, of course, across this podcast throughout. Now, who does your coaching these days?
I do.
All right.
Yeah, McKeegan was doing it for 2 years, and I came out of OSG last year, and I just wanted to try something different. I was actually laid off at the time, so it was kind of ended up by, it's like, all right, I'll try this. It'll help my coaching if I can place well under my coaching, and then they just kind of just been sticking with it. So, and that might change. I'm definitely for having a coach. Have you always coached yourself?
For me, I had Terry for 6 months in 2019, but besides that, I've always, pretty much coached myself. Early on, I had a lot of good influences that helped me, like teach me a lot of events. So of course I had Murph at TPS. I had Eric Dawson, who's now at Titan Barbell. By the time he was at TPS, I had a buddy named Ryan Arute that helped me with a lot of events. So I had a lot of great influences that taught me a lot of technique. And then Terry kind of refined a lot of my programming. And then I been running kind of like a hypertrophy / kind of event training that's been pretty good. But am I considered coaching now? Possibly. But I'm pretty rooted towards what I do. So I go really back and forth. I know there's guys I've always had coaching. There's guys like an Adam Bishop that's always coached himself. So it's really tough to kind of decide to go back.
Yeah. And like my better coaching relationships I have with some of my athletes, there's a lot of, sometimes guys think it's a Bible, and it's like, we got to do what's on it. And our bodies are just which vary so much, you gotta take it. Dude, I'm telling you, this cold is killing me today. I totally just lost train of thought of the question again. I'm off today.
You're fine. You were saying you were going. You were talking about we're talking about coaching ourselves. So getting coached, and then guys following your program to a T. Yeah.
Let's go to the next question.
Let's stop by and say hello to Mr. Hare. Hello, Mr. Hare. Good to see you, buddy. Thanks.
Jacob.
Thanks for tuning in. And then Joseph, I know you're at the gym, but you should be glued. I'm just kidding. The gym is more important than this podcast. You can always listen to the recorded version. Now, like for instance, I usually try to highlight a lot of individuals' kind of strengths and of course kind of what you preach. I remember when they did the Clash in 2022, they misloaded the squat when it was somewhere in the 700s. You were able to get a rep on it, which is pretty much world's strongest man weight for a squat, and it was a very similar implement.
I heard 675 to 700. I don't know if that was true.
Now, what's your biggest squat in training?
I've never really. every time I was training for it with McKeegan, he kind of kept the brakes on me.
What's your best like set for reps?
Maybe 635 for 4 or 5.
Ooh, it's pretty sexy.
It was a while ago, but I wanted to try to push my squat this coming year. That's another goal that I have for this year. I'd love to hit a 700 squat. Well, I mean, I don't know if I hit a 700 squat, so I want to hit an official 700 squat. So
I want to say that squat was 700 pounds. So I'm pretty sure.
It felt like it.
Yeah, I think Johnny was after the contest said he weighed it and all, and it was over 700. But for instance, like even like on the static power, because you have of course great log, great dumbbell. Like for instance, like on like even on dumbbell, what do you think are some like key takeaways that you tell your clients or you tell individuals to improve their overhead?
Circus dumbbell. Okay, so let's talk about like for reps. You know, I see a lot of guys drop the dumbbell, and I'm a big touch and go guy. Mm-hmm. I was able to pull out a win against Emmanuel Piscari in a circus dumbbell event in Germany, and I don't think I was any stronger than him. I just think I had a better plan because he was dropping the dumbbell, picking it back up, and I was just swinging it down, touch and go. And you know, you might say, oh, that might require more energy, but for me, I trained it that way, so I was ready to go. It wasn't like I just changed my plan on the day or something, you know. Also, making sure that the dumbbell's centered, and making sure you have a strong base. You know, whether you have more of like a more upright where you're just tilting at the top, or some guys will like kick the hip and have a little bit wider base. But whatever style you decide to go with, you want to make sure that the weight, I mean, it's like every event we do, you want that weight as close to your midline as possible. And the further you get away from that midline, the weaker you're going to be. You know, it's like we manipulate our body around the implement to move the implement. We don't manipulate the implement. Whenever you move the implement on a horizontal plane, you're wasting energy, right? So, yeah, definitely make sure you have a strong base. I do like this thing with athletes who are new to it, where I'll just do have them practice just getting into rack position. So you'll just do like maybe 2 sets of 5 or 6 with lightweight, of just coming up, pushing the dumbbell, and then locking into position. You know, you see a lot of guys that they're real far out here, or it looks like the dumbbell's gonna, you know, rip their shoulder blade right off. You know, just making sure that you're getting the bell up, the bell's sitting on your shoulder, on your trap. I actually push my head against the dumbbell when I do it, and I look up the dumbbell so I see where it's going as I'm pressing up. And then once I drive into the dumbbell, I'll even move underneath it. So that would lead me to my next tip would be try to think about it more like you're throwing the dumbbell off your shoulder. Like try to be explosive as possible. Like my feet literally leave the ground when I do a circus dumbbell. So I think too many guys are like, well, I'm pressing. Yeah, you're definitely pressing, and the heavier it gets, you're going to use more shoulders. But I try to do it more of like a jump and a tricep extension, you know, and even if you, I guess you could consider it a little bit of like a circus push jerk, you know, you could drop under it a little bit. Go if you when your feet leave the ground and you move your feet out a little bit, you can pop under. That might help you with the lockout a little bit. But also making sure that when you do lock out, that your bicep is I say bicep to ear. You know, if your arm's coming out here, you're gonna have a harder time stabilizing the dumbbell. So yeah, that would be a couple quick tips for the circus dumbbell. And I would say even for the log, you know, the same exact sort of cues. Keep it throughout the dip, you know, throughout the clean, throughout everything, every portion of that movement, keeping it as close to your midline as possible. You know, the 2 biggest issues I see with like a log dip is hips are coming forward and knees are driving out over the toes, or the hips coming back, right? If you don't have like a neutral spine, then the hips come back, and then there's compensation then, right? So then you see, that's usually when you see the athlete step forward or step back, because they're compensating for that energy driving too horizontal, right? We want that vertical movement. And I say, like with a log, with like an axle or a barbell, they're small enough that you can get that vertical hip drop, right? But with the log, just because of the sheer size of the log, I kind of like, in terms of like point to point, I'd say bottom of the butt cheeks to back of heels. I mean, but while I'm completing the movement, I'm trying to think of vertical. So, you know, knees out over toes, open, open the groin up, let the hips sit down. So we're getting that maximum leg drive out of the movement, and we want to get that energy moving vertically, right? And then another thing is I think guys drop their chin through way too soon, or so then they're either, if they drop it really soon, then they're dropping back, and now that log's moved forward past your midline. So I say chest through, chin up, or vertical throw. It's like a silly cue, but I think vertical throw, chin up, and try to keep the chest through and try to keep that log on that midline as much as possible.
Mm-hmm. So Jurnis used to do a really good job with that. And of course, we know how well Jurnis does because he was always able to keep it right on top of it, kept his head back. And he always
Alec does a great job at it too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's very upright. Or some guys you see like the Hooper where, the hips have to compensate. So the hips come forward, the back goes back. You get that like candy cane in the upper back, and that works too. And then you're kind of using a little bit more like a Viking press where you get to use your lats for the push through. So I would say either of those two would be optimal. It's whatever you're good at, whenever you can train or use training.
Absolutely. But we forgot to do it earlier on the podcast, but we got to give thanks to the best of all time. Hello, Zadrunas. How are you? So yeah, those are all pretty good tips. I would say, I agree with pretty much all of them. So well done. So we're kind of wrap it up a little bit in terms of questions, but we know what questions coming next. So we've been pretty positive. But is there anything that grinds your gears, Mr. Hein? Is there anything that ruffles your feathers? And if you need time, I can give you mine lately.
All right, you can give me yours, but I'll say. So for competing,
even could
athletes
be all right, go ahead. Sorry.
I'd say like athletes that like hyper focus on other athletes too much, and then they go into shows and they're comparing themselves to others too much. I just see it with coaching, so it's the first thing I thought about. And I know with social media and stuff, it might be hard for some people, and if it's gonna bother you, then stay off social media. But if you can handle it, and maybe like, I think it used to bother me, but I think I got to a point where I would use it as inspiration. You know what I mean? So if you can't use it as inspiration, just focus on yourself and don't get too wrapped up in what other people are doing. And maybe I'll leave it there. I'll leave it there. You go ahead.
No, that was great. This is your show, so this is sometimes I only give my example just to get the juices flowing.
I like to hear yours. Let's hear it.
All right. That's a good question, Joseph. We'll get to a second. I'm going to be a little cynical. I usually give a lot of praise to Mitch Hooper on this podcast, but I think he needs to step up his Instagram game. I think he goes for too much low-hanging fruit. There's a lot of cringy videos. I think it's unbecoming of a world's strongest man. I don't think he needs to do low-hanging fruit videos in order to get views. I think just him just being himself, being authentic, and just putting out good content, it will get him views and get him the attention that he wants. I feel like he did I saw him visit the 90 kilo champ, Philip, and
I did see that. Yeah,
they did two of them where like he's rocking Philip like a baby, and then he calls Mitch on his phone, and then Mitch picks him up like a taxi and walks off, and which is kind of
just silly. It's just silly.
Yeah, just that stereotype that heavyweight strongmen are better than the weight class strongman. Just too different. So
you're just saying like he talks about lift heavy, be kind, and be genuine, and you're just saying that he's going for the clicks.
A little bit,
maybe.
He does a lot of it, and then there's there's other videos. We can go on and on, but I just think he could step up his he doesn't have to go for low-hanging fruit anymore.
I'm sure he's listening, so he got the message.
Yeah, he doesn't listen. I don't think he even listened to his own show. But it was funny. But that's funny. Charlie says he feels attacked by your thing, but to be honest, that's my goal for a contest when I compete. I want people to. I try to make especially if I do a good job in an event, I try to make it a big deal, maybe a little trash talk, so people will start focusing on me and then then they forget about what they need to do, and then the rest of their games kind of slips up, and then I keep doing what I need to do. So it's funny.
You do that.
I try to just do a good job of like, oh man, Camby's doing really well right now, and it just keep people really focus, right? Just so they just kind of technically throw them off their game. It's not like I'm being like cynical or being mean, but just like in a sense of like almost just doing so well that it's distracting. That's almost.
Oh no, and I definitely see that happen. I was gonna say I've never seen you be mean before. So
no, not mean, but I usually try
just little things that'll get into their head. Yeah.
Yes. But I always say that you just need to build momentum, and just make people think that they're coming in second or they're coming in third just by your performance or just how you do it. But like, especially when I was in the 105 and started like racking up like multiple event wins in a row, you can really finish someone off early, in that sense.
Oh yeah.
So that's kind of go for anybody that's listening. Joseph had a question for you. What strongman events do you enjoy the most or find fun to train?
Okay. Enjoy the most. Well, I'm going to say log because that's the easy answer. And then my second answer is going to be my favorite one to compete. And I would say Fingles Fingers. And I don't see it enough. I think we see it more overseas, but I love a Fingle Fingers.
It is fun. I feel like it's an overhead event. It's like if you think about the clean, the first motion, which is like picking it up, that's a lot like a clean. And then the rest of it, it's like driving with the legs and shoulder power. So it's very advantageous for guys like us who love overhead.
Yeah. The last time I did it was at Clash, but 2 years ago. But I really like the Fingles. And then I would say anything I don't like to train would be that. So I have to train in a gravel parking lot. So like I actually love doing yoke, but it's just a pain in the butt to carry out. Disassemble a yoke, take it outside, reassemble it, carry all the weights out. I mean, I have dollies with like half air in the tires, where I'll just end up having to carry it all myself. So that's just me, complaining. But pressing events for sure. And anything with a sandbag. And I don't even think I'm one of the better guys at sandbags. I just think that there's such a, universal event. Like,
is this throws or carries?
Sandbag, like, okay, not throws.
Okay.
We don't need to talk about throws. And I think you would agree. I know you don't like throws. I was a fan, but right now I'm just disappointed in it. But like sandbag rows, sandbag extensions, like a Claiborne squat, sandbag the shoulder. It's like the dead weight of it. It's not like you can grab a handle. It requires, crush strength and grip strength and, hinging. And there's just so much to it. I think there's so many things you could do with a sandbag that are going to help you get better. I think maybe sometimes they're underutilized. I just had this conversation, so it's fresh.
I was going to say, I was surprised. I was thinking maybe some like moving medleys would have been up there, because I remember you were down in some points at the OSG 2023, and then you came back and won the Go Ruck event, which I thought was impressive, that like you needed that win in order to get into the finals, and you did it.
Yeah, it was the pressure that got me there. I think I was in like 13th. Horrible on the frame carry. But I was backed into a corner, so I had no choice to step up, and that was an interesting event with the ruck. But I think for guys that did figure it out, you could kind of find that happy medium where the rucksack would help pull you back just enough. I think you didn't need to lean that much. I think that's why other guys struggled with it. But I like a moving medley, but I like them more on the day. Like training them sucks.
Absolutely. Sheila chimed in. You've been enjoying improving your deadlift. Of course,
I have
3 reps at 750. Of course, at OSG did very well. And then Joseph said, "Thank you for answering." So yeah, we are wrapping up the show. So you guys have any questions, I would put them in now. But I would just go with the kind of the usual in terms of summing up everything and looking at your career as a whole. But going forward, or I would say, I'll start over. Nick, when everything is said and done, what are you looking to accomplish in the world of strongman?
What am I looking to accomplish? Um, there's definitely like some superficial things, like I'd like to win this show. Um, maybe not the answer you'd expect, but I want to have a resume that I'm proud of, and there's always the next weight to hit. There's always, you deadlift this amount, and 10 minutes later, you're just, planning on how you're going to do the next one. Um, yeah.
So, of course, you just want to go out there and just be the best you can be.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm having a hard time answering it. Because I don't know. Maybe I have an answer for myself. I just want to be proud. I just want to be proud of whatever I do. But I don't see myself like going and attacking like the heavier weight classes. Maybe with the 120, 125 class, whatever it is. With that growing, that becomes something else to chase. Is it 275 class? Is that what it is? 125 kilo.
It's interesting because it's different because like Strongman Corporate has like 265. Overseas it's 120 or 264.
Okay.
Some shows will have a 275 class, but like 265 to 275 is starting to become like a new popular weight class, which is it's not. I don't think it's kind of in between 105 and heavyweight because if some guys are like, well, I could just put on 15 more pounds and be a heavyweight. Right, like because I feel like 280 is almost like the barrier. It's the beginning barrier of being a decent heavyweight, depending on what level you're looking at.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing, because there is such a huge difference between 230 and 440. But not that a lot of guys are 440 now, but yeah. So just to finish up that answer, I just want to be proud of whatever I do, and maybe along the way. Win a couple shows.
Perfect. Love it. Adam Knox chimed in, said Nick's gonna win OSG next year. Calling it now. So
thank you, Adam. If I make it there.
Mr. Adam from good old West Virginia. Hope everything's good over there, Adam. And then so if you guys haven't already, you can follow Mr. Hein on Instagram. Any plans on a YouTube page in the short future?
No, a couple of years ago I considered it. I think it's I don't want to say it's oversaturated, but maybe I've just been distracted by other things. Right now, no, but we'll see. Maybe one day. Right. We'll see how it goes.
Well, excellent. Well, but if you guys are interested, of course, Nick is of course coach. Him and Sheila are our team. So if you guys are interested in Hein Strong, make sure you reach out to him on Instagram. Next week, I got Mr. Trey Mitchell coming on the show. So we're going to sit down with a big thicket. I think what a lot of people want to know is what he did or what he thought about or just how he prepped for the biggest natural deadlift ever. So that's what I want to know. So I'm going to try to figure out a little more about Mr. Trey and what he's thinking about heading into the Arnold, because I think he's when he's on, he's a force.
When he's on. Oh yeah.
Absolutely. But I want to thank everybody, especially all the members, for chiming in and, of course, joining the podcast. So TPS seminar this weekend if you're around Boston. Jersey seminar February 8th. So I'll send you a little more details for that, Mr. Hein. And then, of course, don't forget to support the show. There's always Canby shirts available. So we're going to finish out the show, Mr. Hein. So we're going to leave the listeners with one last piece of advice. So what's the last thing you want to tell the listeners to finish the show?
Don't take yourself too seriously. At the end of the day, we're still doing a parking lot sport. I say that lightly, but I think for myself, and I'll just relate to the last show. I spent too much time, kind of sort of torturing myself, and I wish I would have just enjoyed it a little bit more, because it's still what I did was still respectable, and it was still a really cool thing. It was something I never done. I never got second place OSG, but I think I definitely missed out on some time where I could have just enjoyed a little bit more, enjoyed my time around my strongman friends that we only get to see so often. So just don't take yourself too seriously. And don't forget to take, we spend weeks and weeks prepping for this, or months or whatever. And then it comes and I talk about what do you want to feel on that Monday morning, for my athletes. And, just take advantage of or take in the moment and don't waste it, and don't be too hard on yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to add one thing. Have you seen that meme recently where it's Arnold Schwarzenegger and he goes, maybe the gains are not all the trophies that he won, but the friends that he made along the way. I felt
Absolutely.
like that was deep.
Yeah.
So enjoy the process, guys. Of course, it's not the end goal. It's of course who you end up becoming and becoming the best version of yourself. So Nicholas, thank you for joining the show. And until next time, everybody, stay strong.
Thank you so much for having me on.